All right, so management of resources and how it's impacted societies, and just shared out some do now. A lot of you guys mentioned water, which is good, and some other things. So here we go. All right, I'll give you a second. All right, so in the do now, a lot of you mentioned water as being one of the most valuable resources on Earth, and I agree wholeheartedly. So, water and the availability of water for be it for drinking or for irrigating crops or anything like that is essential to life. There's no two ways about it. We have depended on um, access to water for the purposes of agriculture since the dawn of civilization, literally. River valley civilizations and the first true societies are built around access to water. So its importance cannot be understated. But even today, and in our modern age, full of technology and all these things, water and access to water is still a major issue in a lot of different places. Think of it this way: you and I are neighbors, and a river flows through my property and then through your property. And we both use this river to irrigate our crops on our farm. But I decide one day I'm going to build a dam and I'm going to create a reservoir, and you're no longer going to have access to the water. I'm on my property doing things to my property. Um, so am I within my rights to manipulate the flow of the water in that river? I'm not doing anything on anyone else's property. I'm just building a dam through the river on my property. But obviously, it has huge impacts on you and your property too. This dynamic is happening all over the world, and especially in a couple of different places in Africa, and specifically Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia, for that matter. This is where this kind of thing is happening along the Nile River. The Nile River is one of the largest rivers in the world, and a lot of different countries in Africa depend on access to the Nile River for all of the reasons that we've been talking about: irrigation, a variety of other things. Also, to generate what's called hydroelectric power. I don't know if you've seen these power plants on rivers, but they basically create a waterfall, and the water turns a turbine, and that turning turbine creates electricity. This is what's happening at Niagara Falls and a variety of other places also. So, the building of dams along rivers has been super critical for all of these reasons, but it's creating these social and political tensions similar to the example that I just gave you. Now, the example that I just gave you is two people and their farms and how they're impacted by that river. But now we need to kind of extrapolate that example out to talk about how it would impact countries. Okay, the Nile River runs from starts we think in Ethiopia, runs through Ethiopia, Sudan, and then into Egypt. Um, and all three of these countries, uh, you know, rely on this river for their lives, their livelihood. And when some of these countries start manipulating the flow of water and the availability of water for those downstream, it creates a lot of political tension between these places. You see this in a dam called the Aswan Dam in Egypt, and even more so with this new project called the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. So these are hard questions, and I don't know the answer to those questions. Like when we talk about that river and whether or not I'm within my rights to build a dam on that river that's on my property, um, does it matter that it impacts you also? I don't know. Those are hard questions to answer. I think morally, we could agree that both of us should have access to that river water, but I don't know legally if I'm within my rights to build that dam if I wanted to. You know what I mean? So these conundrums and these kind of moral questions are at the heart of a lot of the tension that is happening right now around the access to water management. So for your classwork, you're going to check out an ed puzzle about exactly this situation, the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia, and along the Nile, and how the manipulation of the Nile River with regard to this dam impacts other nations that are downstream, and who is within their rights to exert control over the river, if anyone. And that's really what the ed puzzle is about. So that ed puzzle should be available to you guys now. It's a little bit longer and there's some lengthier questions, so I'm happy to give you guys the class period to complete it. Make sure you answer in complete sentences, and then we will go from there. So you have about 24 minutes left in class. That should be enough to complete it adequately. I think it's a 12-minute video or something like that. Plus, I figured double it for answering all the questions and stuff. So you're welcome to go ahead and get started. As always, I will leave the Meet link open for anyone that has questions or needs help. But other than that, you guys are welcome to go ahead and get started. And if nothing else, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for review. Now, just